What's up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Josh Thompson has broken down a massive middleweight matchup set to shake up the division, as RDR is scheduled to face Baralho at UFC 326 in Las Vegas on March 7th. With the title picture slowly coming into focus, this fight could play a major role in deciding who is next in line for gold. The middleweight division is entering a critical phase. Khamzat is reportedly preparing for a spring title defense against Nassourdine Imavov, and with that bout looming, the next wave of contenders is already positioning themselves. Fighters like Sean Strickland and Fluffy Hernandez remain close to the top, and many believe the winner of that matchup could be next for a title opportunity. However, there is still uncertainty surrounding Khamzat's long-term plans. Just weeks ago, Khamzat suggested he may only defend his belt once before moving divisions in pursuit of champ status. He has floated the idea of jumping up to light heavyweight or even returning to welterweight, claiming he can still make 170. That scenario becomes even more interesting if Kamaru Usman manages to capture the welterweight title in 2026, which could potentially set up a massive champ versus champ showdown. Their first encounter was an explosive 3-round fight that left fans wanting a 5-round rematch. A double champ run for Khamzat would be enormous for the UFC, especially heading into a new Paramount TV deal. Turning back to RDR versus Baralho, Thompson believes the matchup is perfectly timed. Both fighters are coming off losses, yet both were highly regarded and hovering around the top of the rankings. RDR was ranked near the top before his recent defeat to Brendan Allen, and this fight offers a clear path back into contention. According to Thompson, Baralho presents a well-rounded challenge. He is solid on the feet and capable on the ground, and Thompson does not believe he will be overly threatened by RDR's wrestling. While RDR's takedown game may not be elite, Thompson highlighted his clinch work as a major factor that Baralho will have to deal with throughout the fight. The March date also works in both fighters' favor. Thompson noted that they have plenty of time to recover, prepare properly, and manage their weight cuts. Both men are considered big for the division, which makes preparation and conditioning even more important. Thompson also pointed out RDR's activity level, noting that he fought 4 times in a single year, an impressive feat for someone who cuts that much weight. In his view, there is no better way to improve and stay sharp than consistent competition inside the cage. This fight, he believes, is exactly what both men need to re-establish themselves and make a serious push toward the top of the middleweight division. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to help support the channel. Moving on to another news, Yoel Romero has officially thrown his name into the boxing conversation and made it clear that Anderson Silva is the opponent he wants next. Following his dominant win over Pat Downey at Real American Freestyle, Romero spoke with the Schmo and revealed that a boxing showdown with the former UFC middleweight champion is firmly on his radar. Romero said he is not interested in limiting himself to one sport and believes now is the perfect time to step into the boxing world. He pointed to Silva's recent success in the ring, referencing Silva's knockout win over Tyron Woodley, and suggested that momentum makes the matchup even bigger. According to Romero, Silva may have mentioned the wrong name when discussing future opponents, but the real fight, in his eyes, is right in front of him. Romero passionately called for the bout, saying he wants every sport and that boxing is next on his list. He urged Silva to recognize what the fans want and insisted that he is the man Silva should be facing. Romero framed the potential fight as a clash of legends, fueled by respect but driven by competition, and emphasized that the time is now to make it happen. The callout quickly gained attention, especially given both fighters' history and star power. Silva has successfully transitioned into boxing, while Romero remains one of the most physically imposing and explosive athletes to ever compete in combat sports. A boxing match between the two would instantly become one of the most talked about crossover fights on the market. Adding more intrigue to the situation, Conor Covington has also called out Tyron Woodley for a rematch following Woodley's recent boxing loss to Silva. With multiple veterans circling big-name fights outside the UFC, the combat sports landscape continues to blur the lines between MMA and boxing. Romero's message was loud and clear. He wants Silva, he wants boxing, and he believes this is the fight fans deserve to see next. Moving on to another news, Paul Felder and Bisping did not hold back while reacting to Ilya's recent comments aimed at Team Khabib and Islam Makhachev. The two former fighters made it clear that their issue was not with the potential matchup itself, but with the timing and mixed messaging behind Ilya's words. According to both men, the situation crossed the line and created an unnecessary storm. Ilya recently claimed he would submit Islam and took shots at the wider camp, of comments that immediately drew attention across the MMA community. Felder and Bisping pointed out that this came shortly after Ilya had spoken publicly about dealing with serious family issues and needing space and understanding. That contradiction became the core of their criticism, as they felt you cannot ask for peace while simultaneously lighting a fire. Felder was especially blunt in his assessment, calling Ilya's actions a shot move. He explained that once a fighter publicly calls out other athletes or camps, they should expect a response no matter what personal struggles they may be facing. In Felder's view, opening that door invites backlash, and it is unrealistic to think others will stay silent simply out of sympathy. Bisping echoed the same sentiment, emphasizing that provoking elite fighters and well-known teams is guaranteed to create noise. He suggested that Ilya's approach sends mixed signals because asking for privacy while throwing verbal jabs only puts everyone else in an awkward position. If opponents respond, they look insensitive. If they stay quiet, the narrative continues unchecked. Felder also aligned himself with Team Khabib's perspective on the situation. He explained that when family matters are brought into the conversation, the dynamic changes entirely. Fighters who are attacked feel trapped because responding can make them appear heartless, even if they were provoked first. That, according to Felder, is unfair and manipulative, whether intentional or not. The discussion also referenced comments from Ali Abdelaziz, who shared his confusion over the situation. He stated that everyone had been giving Ilya space and respect to handle his family problems. However, once Ilya started talking about Khabib, Islam, and Arman without having a fight book, that patience understandably began to fade. Abdelaziz suggested that continuing to stir things up while staying inactive makes it hard to justify giving him a pass. Felder and Bisping agreed that Ilya appears to be keeping himself relevant by staying in the headlines, appearing on podcasts, and fueling discussion. While that strategy may work for attention, they argued it looks bad when there is no clear plan to step back into the cage. Setting up verbal battles without backing them up, they said, only damages credibility and respect in the long run. Moving on to another news. Brendan Allen has shared his thoughts on the highly anticipated matchup between Khamzat and Nassourdine Imavov, and he is firmly backing Khamzat to come out on top. Allen believes the fight favors Khamzat in several key areas and expects the outcome to be decisive once it hits the mat. Allen, who is coming off a shocking win over RDR, where RDR was forced to stop between rounds due to exhaustion, did not hesitate to break down the stylistic matchup. He acknowledged that Imavov is a fast striker with clean technique and solid movement, but he questioned whether Imavov has the power needed to seriously threaten Khamzat. According to Allen, the speed is real, but the punches lack the kind of impact that would slow Khamzat down. In his view, the fight becomes much clearer once grappling enters the equation. Allen fully expects Khamzat to secure takedowns and control long stretches of the fight. He explained that while Imavov can be defensively sound on the ground, his lack of offensive urgency works against him. Being purely defensive, Allen noted, makes it difficult to turn the tide or threaten finishes, especially against someone as relentless as Khamzat. Allen also criticized the build-up to the fight, specifically the hesitation and commentary surrounding the Dagestan and Chechnya connection between the two fighters. He described that narrative as a major misstep, arguing it could give fans the impression that neither man truly wants the fight. In his opinion, that kind of messaging risks making the matchup seem less exciting, even if the reality inside the cage is very different. Originally, the fight was expected to take place earlier in the year, but it fell through, with Imavov hinting that issues from Khamzat's side contributed to the delay. The bout is now expected to happen after Ramadan, likely in April or May. Allen believes the extra time will not change the outcome, insisting that once the cage door closes, Khamzat's pressure and physicality will take over. Adding more intrigue, Allen referenced the fact that Khamzat and Imavov have trained together in the past. According to leaked stories and comments from Imavov himself, those sparring sessions were extremely tough. Imavov has previously admitted that working with Khamzat was brutal, which only reinforces Allen's confidence in his prediction. While Allen did say the fight could be competitive early, he ultimately sees Khamzat wearing Imavov down through takedowns and relentless work. His final assessment was clear and confident. It should be an entertaining fight, but Khamzat's ability to impose his will be the difference, leading him to a convincing victory. Moving on to another news, Anderson Silva has voiced serious concerns about Dana White's plans to enter the boxing world with his new promotion, Zuffa Boxing. the former UFC champion who has successfully transitioned into boxing, believes the sport and its community deserve far more respect than they are currently being shown amid the controversy surrounding White's ambitions. Dana White, now serving as UFC CEO under TKO Group Holdings, is preparing to officially launch Zuffa Boxing, with its first event scheduled for January 23rd, just one day before UFC 324. The promotion will be overseen by White alongside WWE President Nick Khan, with White handling the day-to-day operations. While the announcement has created buzz, it has also sparked widespread debate within the boxing world. A key point of contention is White's push to amend the Ali Act through a proposed Muhammad Ali American Boxing Revival Act. White and his team claimed the changes would provide fighters with more flexibility and opportunity. However, critics argue the opposite, warning that weakening the Ali Act could strip fighters of crucial protections and open the door to exploitation rather than empowerment. Silva addressed these concerns during an interview with Fight Hub TV following his recent boxing victory over Tyron Woodley on the Jake Paul vs. Anthony Joshua card. Drawing from his experience in both MMA and boxing, Silva made it clear that his issue is not personal, but rooted in preserving the integrity of the sport. He stressed that boxing has a long and complex history, and any attempt to reshape it should begin with respect for the athletes, promoters, and traditions that already exist. According to Silva, the danger lies in the motive behind the project. He explained that if the goal is genuinely to help the sport grow and provide better conditions for fighters, then it should be welcome. However, he warned that efforts driven by a desire to control the entire industry could have damaging consequences. In his view, monopolizing power in boxing risks harming the very athletes such changes claim to support. Silva also questioned whether success in MMA can automatically translate to boxing. He suggested the sports operate under very different cultures and structures, and assuming the same formula will work could be a costly mistake. His message was firm and clear. Respect the boxing community, respect the fighters, and avoid turning control into the primary objective. Moving on to another news. New footage has just surfaced online showing Justin Gaethje in a grappling session that immediately set social media on fire. The clip shows Justin working with teammates, specifically drilling arm triangle defense, when Kamaru Usman is seen watching closely from the side. Moments later, Usman steps in and decides to test Justin himself, and what followed raised plenty of eyebrows across the MMA community. In the footage, Usman quickly locks up a choke and forces Justin to tap with surprising ease. The moment spread rapidly, with fans reacting strongly to how clean the submission looked. It was not exactly a reassuring sight for someone who is only weeks away from a high-stakes title fight against a dangerous grappler like Paddy Pimblett. The visual alone was enough to spark debate about Justin's preparedness on the ground. As the clip circulated, many fans began questioning how Justin plans to handle elite grappling pressure if he is getting shut down that decisively in the gym. While training footage does not always tell the full story, optics matter, especially this close to a major fight. The doubts grew louder because Justin has spent months insisting that his grappling has reached a new level, and that people would be shocked by how much his overall game has evolved. Paddy Pimblett did not miss the opportunity to react. In a now-deleted post, he mocked the clip by simply writing, "That's your guy." The short comment added even more fuel to the fire and played directly into the narrative surrounding Justin's ground game. Coming from his upcoming opponent, the reaction carried extra weight and quickly became part of the wider discussion. The timing of the footage could not be worse. With a title fight looming and a reputation as an explosive striker already well established, Justin has been trying to convince fans that his wrestling and submission defense are no longer weak points. Instead, this clip did the opposite, reinforcing concerns and reopening old criticisms about his vulnerability against strong grapplers. Audio from the session captures voices reacting in real time as the choke tightens, with comments about positioning, the knee on the hip, and the pressure being applied. The exchange ends with Justin tapping, followed by casual post-training chatter, but the damage was already done online. While gym moments do not always reflect fight night reality, this footage poured gasoline on existing doubts. Whether fair or not, it has shifted the conversation back to whether Justin's grappling improvements are truly where he claims they are heading into the biggest challenge of his career. Moving on to another news. Joe Rogan has revealed that Alex Pereira's next fight may take unexpected turn, with behind-the-scenes chatter pointing toward a surprise opponent. While fans have assumed the light heavyweight title picture would play out in a predictable way, Rogan suggests the UFC could be exploring something far different. Alex Pereira currently sits at the top of the light heavyweight division, with contenders like Carlos Ulberg and Jiří Procházka waiting for their opportunity. Despite those options, Pereira has made it clear that his interest lies beyond his current weight class. He has openly talked about moving up to heavyweight and even targeting a massive showdown with Jon Jones at the highly anticipated UFC White House event scheduled for June 14th. That plan appears to be off the table for now. Pereira recently posted that the White House event is no longer happening for him, which immediately sparked speculation about what the UFC has lined up next. According to Rogan, the answer might surprise a lot of people. Speaking on a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan said there has been serious chatter about Pereira competing at heavyweight sooner rather than later. He mentioned that one name being discussed is Ciryl Gane. Rogan admitted he has not confirmed anything directly with Dana White, but he emphasized that the idea is far from unrealistic. Rogan pointed out that Pereira is already walking a roughly 240 pounds or more. He stressed that Pereira's power is undeniable, stating that he is capable of knocking out full-sized heavyweights without question. In Rogan's words, Pereira hits harder than anyone the UFC has ever recorded, which makes the potential matchup intriguing rather than reckless. Ciryl Gane is coming off a no contest against Tom Aspinall in their heavyweight title fight at UFC 321 last October. That bout ended in the first round after an accidental eye poke left Aspinall unable to continue. The UFC's current plan is to book an immediate rematch, but that depends on Aspinall receiving medical clearance, which has yet to happen. With uncertainty surrounding the heavyweight title picture and Pereira's future at light heavyweight, the possibility of a surprise move looms large. If the chatter Rogan has heard turns into reality, fans could be witnessing one of the most unexpected and dangerous matchups the UFC has put together in years.